want to finish up the issue of dipping the bread in salt. Well, we didn't get to the dipping part yet, but just what we left off last time with saying that halachically speaking, today with the way bread is, there's no reason to have salt or a dip. Philosophically, there's an idea that having salt on the table in some way will help get your mind focused on something of value rather than simply engaging in the instinctual activity, right? We look at halacha l'maisa, right? The Shulchan Aruch. This is where things get interesting. The Shulchan Aruch says, the Shulchan Aruch basically brings down the Gemara, okay? So the Shulchan Aruch says, he says you have to have salt on the table because of the halachic reason, but if it's pas nikia, you don't have to have it. Now listen to the Ramah. The Ramah says, you gotta love this Ramah. When we call makom mitzvah laniach al kol shulchan melach kodem shivatzeh. So Ramah pulls a fast one. Ramah says there's a mitzvah to have salt on the table. Yeah. The Ramah takes the nice suggestion of the Gaonim and he calls it a mitzvah. I don't know where he gets that from. All right, and then he brings in the Gaonim's thing. Dom ki hashochan dom lemizbeach, v'achil korban, and then he also brings in v'hu megin min apranios, which is Tosos's idea. So the Ramah tries to mash everything together and hold it to mitzvah and actually have salt on the table, even if the pas is naki. But the Mishnah Berurah, in a sense, catches it because he says like this. He says, "Perish afagad demavur sham deludidan de pas shalanu hu b'melach." So even though there really is no idea to have salt today with bread, nonetheless, what do you call it? It's a mitzvah to have it on the table. Now comes the last part. The kasvu, our best friends, in source number 8. The kasvu amikubalim litbal prusas amoti melach shlosh pamim. So the Kabbalists want to say that not only do you dip the bread in salt, but how many times you dip it? 3 times. The Aruch HaShulchan also quotes it. He's hiru bazeh. Doesn't say 3 times, but litbal prusas hamoti melach. Why 3 times? This is interesting. First, the Piskei Teshuvos in the note that I highlighted it. He says, "V'da ditzarach tvila dafka shel prusa v'melach, v'lo ba'ofan shel pizur melach al prusa." This is great. So if you're going to go ahead and you're going to actually have the salt with the bread, how do you have to do it? You have to dip it. You can't take salt and shake it on the bread, which a lot of people do on Shabbos, right? When the people who do this on Shabbos, what do they do?
Why not?
Oh, because it's if you're going to hold whatever these guys hold of dipping it, it has to be a dip.
Yeah, but on Pesach.
Why do we have the 3 times? So he claims that it's in Shulchan Aruch Harav. So anyway, he writes Vatam mishum shemelach gematria shlosha pa'amim shem havaya. Okay. No, meaning that if the Shem Hashem times 3 equals the gematria of the Shem Hashem times 3 equals melach. Okay, you can work it out.
78.
Okay, the Ayidei Tibol Shlosha Pa'amim Mamtikim Shlosha Havayos Shalagvura Ayidei Chasadim. All right, and that's in the name of the Ari. I have no idea what that means, but the point, clearly it's not a normative source. But the Mekubalim were nihil that minhag to dip it 3 times. Okay.
There's just no guy on.
This is no guy, right? The only thing I want to add is that he also quotes funny. He says the minhag l'chasam sofer. He says was not to have salt on Friday night. Do you guys do that, Chabad? No.
No, we have salt.
Right? Why? He says because on Friday nights. What was the reason why? Oh, because they didn't bring the chalavim when they brought korbanos. All right. Oh, okay. So because of that, so they want to distinguish between.
But that's only one of the.
But it's just very funny that one shita would hold b'daf and not having a Friday night. But anyway, but the upshot is that today we have a prevalent minhag that everybody has salt with their lechem mishnah, right? I don't know many people who have salt all the time. Other than Avi Cohen.
No, my father.
And his father. No. But most people don't do that. Right? I mean, I could be wrong. But the minhag today, the minhag Yisrael is to have salt on your table and use it when you have lechem mishnah on Shabbos, right? But I don't know why that's the case, and I've never found. No one has an answer. I couldn't find an answer anywhere.
Oh, why it's only.
Next thing I want to do is I did this area before, but it's a great area. It's the area of Sefirah Omer, insofar as it's two areas that converge. One is the time for counting, all right, and the second one is what to do if you forget a day. I'm just curious what everyone thinks. What's the ideal time for counting? If I had to ask you, when should you count? After it says. What? No, be quiet. After it says, right? If you ask anyone, they tell you when's the ideal time. Now, it's interesting. Today, what do most people do? No. Before it says. How do you know that?
Because in shul days.
Because most people daven Mara before it says, right? So they daven Mara before it says. That's a bigger problem in of itself, which is the whole business of the chazan counting for everybody. It's a very funny thing.
No, you repeat it after.
I know, but why do we need it?
You do repetition of him.
Why do you have to have him count? And then you.
Then in case one missed a bracha, you'll take that.
Well,
That's mine.
how would you, what do you mean? Miss what bracha? Source number one.
וספרתם לכם ממפרט השבת מיום הביאכם את עומר התנופה 7 שבתות תמימות תהיינה.
Okay, so in Parachav Gimel in Vayikra, so we have the famous pasuk that you must count. Well, 1 second says, whoa. We don't even know what it means. 1 second. Translate the pasuk. What does the pasuk mean?
You should
Count the day after the holiday. Okay, from the point that you bring the Omer. Okay, Sheva 7. What are Shabbosos?
Sabbath.
Oh, okay. What does that mean though?
That was a week.
Well, we don't know. It's unclear. That's why the Gemara is unclear about it. But 7 somethings. Okay. What's Tamimos?
Complete.
Oh, we don't know what that means either. What does that mean? What does that mean?
Complete.
It's a week, it's 7 days if it's...
Complete.
Okay. So take a look at the Gemara.
Amar
Menachos Samech Vav Amar Aleph. Gufa. Amar Abaye.
Bai mitzvah lemiyame yoma u'mitzvah lemiyamenu shiva.
L'miyamnei Shvuei. All right. So Abaye says, there's 2 separate mitzvahs, right? One mitzvah is to count days, and the other mitzvah is to count weeks.
He
Okay.
calls them 2 separate days.
2 separate mitzvahs. 2 separate mitzvahs. So meaning that, according to Abaye, we're not going to define this, but according to Abaye, how would Abaye count?
Don't we say something like that?
Hayom.
No, we combine them.
Hayom.
Yeah, so we also do that.
Shiva Sayom. Longer.
Stays.
Hayom.
No, but he would probably do 2. He would probably do 2 separate countings.
15
Hayom
days.
Sheva.
Right, he would say today is 15. He'd say today is the 15th day of the Omer, and today is 2 weeks
In 1 day.
and 1 day.
Why?
Because look at the next sheet though. Rabbanan debate. Keep going.
Rabbanan deber Rav Ashi manu yamei.
Umanu Shvuei. That sounds like they would count both. In other words, that's what we do.
How do you know they're arguing?
What's the difference?
I know. What's the difference? We say how you count. Today we say we say today is 15, and that is so and so.
Oh.
But he would have to. Abai would hold 2 separate misas.
So, but not every day. One would happen every 7 days, another one would happen.
Correct. There'd be a counting of days, and then when you finish let's say like on the 14th, right? So you'd say on the 14th would be the day that you count 14 days, and today's 2 weeks. Then you would count 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, and the 21st you'd say today's 21st and 3 weeks. Okay, but whatever, a separate issue. Amemar.
Amemar minei yoma v'lo minei shavua.
So he would count days and not weeks. Okay, great. And now comes the key point. Amar.
Zecher Lamikdash.
All right. So why do we count Sefirah? Zecher Lamikdash. That's going on everybody. Okay. This is going to be one of the key points. You guys know I love Zecher Lamikdash stuff. All right. So what do we count? Why do we count? We count Zecher Lamikdash. Now we're going to take the prevalent opinion of Sefirah, which is that it's D'Rabbanan today, not like the Rambam. Okay. Then we'll take it up some other time, the Rambam's position. But for now, Zecher Lamikdash, which normally means D'Rabbanan. So we count today Zecher Lamikdash. Okay. Rashi.
Amemar minei yoma v'lo shavua. Amar hi minayana dehashta.
Lav chovahu. It's not a chiyuv. Rather, why? The halakha omer. So Rashi's giving you a hint here. How is the mitzvah of Sefirah structured? How is it constructed?
Around Yom.
Around Omer. So in the Havas Omer, Remember, Omer was what? What's Omer?
Zecher Lamikdash.
No, what? No. So the idea of Sefirah is intertwined with the counting idea is intertwined with Omer. So now that we don't have Omer, Ella. So what do we have left?
Eller, Zecher Lamikdash.
Be'almahu. Okay, so Zecher Lamikdash, meaning that it's a hanging Zecher Lamikdash because again, what are we commemorating? We're not commemorating the Omer, right? Because we don't have an Omer. We're just commemorating the counting. Again, let's make sure everything's clear. Back in the day, they would count with the Korban Omer. Today, we still count. We don't have a Korban Omer.
Wait.
And why would they count?
What? Okay, so now if you look at Tosfos, all right, Tosfos gets very interesting. Zecher Lamikdashu. Go.
Zecher Lamikdash near the pasuk Hash.
Dibis Safek.
The Safek. Hashicha Yachol Levarech.
So you got it now. Okay, so that's why when you guys prepare, I always tell you to go slow and be sensitive to his language. Okay. So what's the first thing he says? He says Safek Hashecha, which is when Benish Mashos. Okay, so now let's just give a preliminary definition of Benish Mashos. Benish Mashos is after sunset, but before the stars have come out.
After Shkia before it says.
Okay. What? After Shkia before it says. So, in a very loose way, what properties exist in Benish Mashos?
Both day and night.
Both day and night. There's some night in Benish Mashos, right? Okay. So he says, now what's his lashon? He says, Yachol Levarech. You could. If the guy wanted to. He can count Sefirah during Benish Mashos. Okay? Vein Sarach. Keep going.
Vein Sarach. V'hamtin ad she'yeh v'dai laila.
Right, so a guy doesn't have to wait until Tzeis Kol Havim. You can, if you choose, you can count during Benish Mashos. Right? Why?
Kivan shehu speaka derabanan.
Because it's a Safek Derabanan. What's the Safek Derabanan?
It is
Whether it's
day
day or
or
night.
night.
No, what's the Safek Derabanan? What's the Safek Derabanan here?
I'm Omer.
Right, in other words, during Benish Mashos, Sefirah Omer is Derabanan. You're in Benish Mashos is Safek. Safek Derabanan. Now it's interesting. Safek Derabanan. He's learning Lahakel to mean that it'd be okay to count then. Okay.
So what's there, Brian?
Sefirah is a Derabanan. Okay, so now you don't know. It's both. It could be now is the time for Sefirah Omer, maybe not, because it's not Tzeis Kol Havim, right? But since it's a Safek Derabanan, you can count and be Yotzei.
Oh, but he would hold by that same Sefirah that if you missed the night before, you can count during Benish.
Hold on. We didn't even get to that. Yes, but we're not even up to that yet. Hold on. But right now, what's Tosfos saying? Is Tosfos saying you should do this?
Yeah, he's saying,
No. What's he saying at this point?
Could.
You could, right? Oh, now what does he say? Oh, he said the Od Omer.
The Omer da'afil b'yom Safek v'hashicha adif.
Adif mishum tmimus. But then Tosfos makes a wild move. He says, forget suggesting that you could do it. He's saying ideally when should you count? Benish Mashos. Why?
It's better.
Why?
Tmimus.
Tmimus. What does Tmimus mean according to Tosfos?
No.
You do.
complete.
You can give like a little conceptual step.
Complete.
How? Why is it complete according to Tosfos?
Because you maybe roughly counted.
So Tosfos is saying, why would it be Tamimus to count during Benish Mashos? Because this way you're ensuring that, this is an important point, you're ensuring that your count, right, will be a full day. You'll have a full day of your count. Why? Because you're counting, not that your day will be a full day, but your count will be on a full day count. Because you've counted, and now Tzeis starts. Okay, so going into Tzeis, you've already earmarked that day as a Sefirah day. You understand that?
Kind of like bringing in.
Okay, because what are you counting? Your count is that this day, right? Now, when I say this day, when I'm qualified by this following statement, this complete day is the 14th day of the Omer.
You can't say that on the day this complete day is.
No, well, 1 second. The second after Tzeis Chavim, right? You can't tell me anymore that now I'm saying that this day is a complete day of the Omer.
Why is the count of coming? It should be this day passed. This day was the first.
Because that's not what you're counting. You're counting to the next day. Whenever you count Sefirah, you're counting to the next day. So notice you got to understand. It's not that the day is complete because you count the next day when during Benish Mashos. So it's not that you're counting and waiting a full day. You're saying that this day, the 14th day that I'm counting to, is now a full day. That's the Tamimus. The Tamimus is because this isn't necessary to understand the Sefirah, but I just want to get this clear. How is this tamimus? Because he's saying that the moment that as long as I count before Tzeis Chavim, so now what am I ensuring to do? This is why it's adif. Whereas the first thing he's saying is that halachically speaking, there's no problem counting during Banish Mashos because it's a Safek Darbanan. But I want to show you how maybe you can even argue it's better to do that, because now you're ensuring that every time you count, you're koveya, you're designating that this upcoming day is a full day of Omer, of Sefirah. It's a full day.
It's kind of.
But how do you answer that? So Avi wants to say, but 1 second, but how is it Hayom Yom? Very simple. Because since midirabanan, right, there's some reality of night there. So when you say Hayom Yom, your counting is latching on to that reality. If there was no reality of night during Benish Mashos,
it takes the day in terms of you got the Tamimas, but it takes the night in terms of it's actually the night.
Bingo.
That's
Convoluted, but that's what it's saying, factually. Yeah.
What you said before makes it seem.
I'm just trying to explain right now, technically, why he's saying it. We haven't explained conceptually. You have to get to the run.
If the mitzvah's to count the day, then the technical and conceptual should be the same thing.
They will, but we're not ready to that point yet. Right now, I just want to explain. You can't define Tosos if you don't understand what he means. You can't define him if you don't understand why what it means to say adif because it's tmimus. I'm just trying to explain what he means by tmimus here. Okay, so what Tosos would say to everybody else is that if you count after the stars come out, what do you could argue according to Tosos you're lacking in tmimus, right? Okay. Keep going, Tosfos. Le'el.
ואין יראה והיכה דשחף לספור בלילה.
Okay, now, second case. Okay, let's say I forget to count at night. Okay, so the Bahag held Sofer Bayom. Okay, so what does the Bahag hold?
You count on that.
Right. So what did I do? So let's get a fact straight here. So I forgot to count. Okay, today's 15, right? So I forgot to count 15 from Tzeis through Hanetz. Let's make it easier, Hanetz, okay? I remember during Shacharis, I forgot to count last night 15. So according to the Bahag, what do I do? You count. With a bracha?
No. Doesn't say anything.
Well, he doesn't say not without a bracha, so it would sound like you would count with a bracha. Right? You're not lacking anything according to the Bahag. You can make it up, okay? So Tosa says, V'china yanira masnisin. So it's implied from the Mishnah. Okay, now skip ahead to Aval Nira. One line down.
Wait, what?
Fourth last word.
What's it? Aval Nira L'Reinu Tam.
Aval Nira L'Reinu Tam, Ikar, Ida.
Stama de masnisin. So he quotes this Mishnah and just go to the end of that line. Kol Laila. That's the key thing.
Kol Halayla, Kasher.
L'Ksiras Omer. The entire night is kosher for Ksiras Omer. The entire night. Okay? Hold on. Let's keep going. B'daikina mina, and we learn from this, Diktani Laila Dom Yodiyom. Night is like day. Ma Lo.
After Laila, beyond Lo.
So what does that mean?
It's 6 and 9 not there.
Right. Meaning what? No. So Yaakov, so explain it. So according to Tosos,
Count during the day.
if I missed
the
night, then what?
You can't count.
You can't count during the day. Okay, so another machlokas. Bahag holds if I miss, let's break it up into 2 12-hour periods. If I miss the 12-hour nighttime period, right, I can count during the day. Okay, without any penalty. According to the Tosos, once I miss the night, that's it, because that is the zman for Sfiras Omer. I couldn't count during the day. Okay, now but look at number 4.
Od pasuk.
That's the Bahag. She'im. So let's say I skipped an entire day. So what does it sound like he's saying?
Shouldn't continue.
Yeah, according to the Bahag, if I miss a day in its entirety, see, you got to appreciate the kula chomer here. The Bahag's very mako if I miss nighttime. I have no problem counting during the day. But according to the Bahag, if I miss a day, according to the Bahag, do I count anymore? No. Not this. Forget the bracha business. That's an achronic thing. We'll get to that later. Counting without a bracha. That's much later. According to the Bahag, if I miss a day in its entirety, is there any point for me to count? No.
Wait, no. According to but no, probably say no. Probably say.
Well, we'll get to that. That's because I had a suffix, right? You can always sense where that. That's why everyone makes that mistake. They think, oh, if I miss, I can count without a bracha. If you go straight from the early sources, according to the Bahag, you would not count ever if I missed the 24-hour period.
Sure, according to Tosos.
The Tosos would say, okay, what would Tosos say? Because Tosos says, B'tema Gdola. But Tosos would hold if I missed the entire 24-hour period, right, he would agree I could still count. He disagrees with, what? You'll see. Okay? You'll see. Okay, let's go to the Ran. All right, go to number 7. And then we'll get to 5. That's when we get back in. First we're going to get the issue of the main issue, which is of the Zman. And then we'll get into Shachach. Shachach we'll probably do tomorrow. All right, look at the Ran and go. You got to go slowly here with the Ran. It's a very famous Ran, but it's a great Ran. Okay, and let's see if you can pick up all the questions. The Ran is on Psachim and the Dapei Rif Chafches Amud Aleph. So what does the Ran say? Which means what?
Somewhere.
Good.
No, not the Haggadah. It means Agadata. Agadata. It's another term for Agadata. No. So there's an Agadata. There's a Medrash. And what does the Medrash say?
גם כן אמרו בשעה שאמרו להם משה תעבדון את
Elokim.
האלוקים על ההר הזה.
Okay, so the Medrash says at the hour that Moshe said that they should worship God on this mountain. Okay, what's it referencing? All right, so let's get the scene here. Okay, you see us in Mitzrayim. Okay, and Moshe says to Bnei Israel, the time is going to come where you'll be receiving the Torah. Okay, so Amar Lo Yisrael.
אמרו לו ישראל משה רבנו
Ematai.
עבודה זו.
Right, so Bnei Israel said to Moshe, when is this going to take place? When is this moment where we get whatever this Har Sinai thing is, where we get the Torah? When is it going to take place? So Amar Lahem.
להם לסוף 50 יום.
Stop. So what did he say to them? He answered, after 50 days. Okay, so what do they do?
Right?
V'hayu.
והיו
Monin.
ממונן כל אחד ואחד ועצום.
So what do they do? They counted. So the Ran's telling you is what's the source for counting? The source for counting is that Moshe said to Bnei Israel, you're going to be receiving the Torah. Bnei Israel said, when are we going to be receiving the Torah? Moshe responded, in 50 days. So what did Bnei Israel do? They counted every day.
Impatient people.
Everywhere. They didn't know what they're getting themselves into. But anyway, they counted 50 days. Okay? 50. Whatever. Okay. Now, so read one more line. So what does he say?
מכאן קראו חכם לספירת העומר.
So one second. So, and because of this is why the Chachamim were Koveya Spiras Omer. Okay? Now, one second. Before you go on, this is an extremely problematic statement in the Ran. There's 2 big problems with this statement. Very good. So one question is, and you got to know the Ran. If you know the Ran is not like an Agadata type of guy. Okay? So he's bringing this Agadata in, and what we're learning halacha from this Agadata, that's strange. All right? But there's a better question. That's a good question, and even better than that. Yeah.
How can we call it spiritual before it existed?
Okay.
I mean, it also would be the original idea of counting because it preceded.
Okay, good. Okay. Hold on to that.
We say
What
that.
about the Omer?
What?
What about the Omer?
Well, that's what he's asking. Yeah. But one second. But let's get it even better than that. Okay? Fine. So you're picking up on a good point. You're saying, well, 1 second. You're saying that there's no korban at this point. Right? Okay.
It's not spiritual Omer.
But forget that. But today, why do we count today? What did the Gemara say? So what does this sound like?
It's not Zecher Lamikdash.
Doesn't sound like Zecher Lamikdash to me.
Zecher before.
No, so you're telling me the reason why the basis for counting is the counting that
another reason.
what? But he says Mikan kavu chachamim sferas omer. This is where it comes from. Now,
Meaning because there's no cause of Zecher Lamikdash.
but the Gemara says it's Zecher Lamikdash.
Mars or Rashi says it.
The Gemara says Zecher Lamikdash, and Rashi explains what that is. No, you'll see. He's not arguing with Rashi. Go, yeah. Klomar bizman hazeh,
Sorry.
the 3rd line in the Ran.
Yeah, כלומר בזמן הזה שאין אינו מביאים קורבן ולא אומר.
So today we don't have a korban and no omer, ella.
אלא מחשיבים נון 50 יום לשמחת תורה.
So what do we do? So we count 50 days. In other words, what do we focus on? We're not really focusing on the Shtei Lechem. We're counting for to Shavuos, to Matan Torah. Okay. Kamo Shemanu Yisrael Ba'oso Zman. Okay.
וזה די דרך מדרש.
Now this is via Medrash, right?
הוא דאקרא דמילתא זכר למקדש.
Okay, so because the real idea is Zecher Lamikdash. So the Ran's very funny. Okay. The Ran knows what's bothering us, right? Because the Ran's saying, look at his lashon. He's saying, all right, so I give you a very nice idea here. I showed you this Medrash. Bnei Israel counted. It's beautiful. I'm crying. They were so happy, excited to get the Torah. They counted 50 days from when Moshe said to the event at Sinai. And then the Ran says, and that's why the Chacham were Koveya, Sefirah Omer.
Yeah.
Okay? But then the Ran says, but one second. He says, but that's Derech Drash. But Ikar Milsa, it's Zecher Lamikdash. So what's he bringing the Agadata in for? What's the point of the Agadata then? What is the point of the
I
Agadata?
don't understand the guy.
Great. How does this tie into the Omer?
Right.
Okay? I don't mean philosophically, I mean halachically. All right? It's very strange, right? Okay. All right, keep going in the Ran.
Kedamar, or should I go to the next one? Should I skip ahead?
Okay, well, you keep reading. Amar Meimar, right? Aval mikol makom.
אבל מכל מקום כל זה מוכיח שאין הספירים עכשיו,
El Midrabanan. So this all fits in because today Sefirah is
all דרבנן.
Midrabanan. Not according to every Shita, but according to most Shitas. Lefikach,
לפיכך אמרו בתוספות דכיוון דמדרבנן, היו טוב לספור ביום ראשון בפסק,
בספק חשיכה,
כדי שהיו 7 שבתות תמימות.
Legamre. So he quotes Tosos. Tosos wants to say that it's good to count during Banish Mashos. Why? Because then you'll have complete days.
Whatever that means.
Because again, you're counting when? Before Tseis. So you're saying this day now will be a complete day. Okay? So Ran says, Ve'ein ze nachon.
ואין זה נכון שהכנס עצמו בספק לכתחילה.
So the Ran says this is crazy. Who says you should enter into a situation of Safek? Okay. That's his first question. His first question is, well, we don't advise people. You got to see he's tackling Tosfos step by step. Remember, Tosfos first said it's okay to count during Banish Mashos. Why?
Because it's full day.
No, that's why you should. But he says it's okay to. Why? Because it's Safek Darbanan, right? Okay, he's saying so. First, he attacks that by first saying, well, one second. Who says you should put yourself in a situation of Safek? It's true that if you're in a Safek Darbanan and you could be Makob, who says you should be entered to Safek? Better to wait until nighttime. And he says, Ve'imishum tmimas, but let's say you say it's better to count before Tseis because it's Tmimas.
אין להחמיר בתמימות בזמן הזה שהוא מדרבנן.
Tfei.
ומספירה
Deraisa. So the Ran says that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Why?
because the counting is deraisa.
One second. So what?
Yeah, how do you say it's more Dervan?
No, because he means like this. He's saying, and this is like an incredible kasha. He's saying this. He's saying that in the times of the Beis Hamikdash, right? In the times of the Beis Hamikdash, or midoraisa, because Sefirah is doraisa. Midoraisa, meaning in the times of the Beis Hamikdash was doraisa. When would everybody count? At night, after Tzeitzah Kol Why? Because that's when night starts. Okay, so which means if God says this is the time to count, then what is the best time to count?
That time.
Nighttime.
Yeah.
So how could the rabbis come along, according to Tosfos, and say, "Oh, there's a better time to count. We're going to outdo God. We have a better time to count. And when is that? Benish Mashos, because this way you have a kiyum and tmimus. That's absurd. It existed always.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Wait, come on.
One second. That's not. No. You're right insofar as let's understand what the Ran's doing. Tosos makes two steps. Tosos' first step is that you can count during Benish Mashos. Okay.
Right.
The Ran counters that by saying, okay, but you shouldn't because you're putting yourself in a situation of Safek. Okay. Yeah. Then Tosos says it's better to count during Benish Mashos because it's Tmimus. So the Ran attacks that by saying, how can you tell me it's better? It's Adif, it's Tov. Because if you're saying that, you're telling me that the Rabbanan came along and created a better time than what the Raisa says to count. How is that possible? That's what the Ran
It's limited sometimes.
No, what's the limitation? What do you mean?
They can't do Benish Mashos because it might be day.
No, but what the Rabbanan should have said was, only count at night.
Why I was wrong, but the Rabbanan could say, no, being as word the Rabbanan, so you can be makel and assume that even Beis Mashas is night.
Yeah, but why would they do that? Well, I don't understand.
Yeah.
But no, they can say that you can, but how can you work out adif? You're missing the point. In other words, what's Tosfos saying? Tosfos is saying that if you want the greatest kingdom of Tmimus, what do? Count before it says. So that's what's bothering the
I
Ran.
understand that because being as is the Rabbanan, before
Question: does the idea of Tmimus exist before? No. Does the idea of Tmimus exist prior to Bnei Shmashos? Of course it does. I mean, conceptually. The Torah says Sheva Shabbos Tmimus Tiana, right? So when you have that pasuk in front of you, what does that mean? It means that I count from Seis and I get my Tmimus, right? The Torah says if you want to achieve Tmimus, count at Seis. Now the Rabbanan come along and say, no, we can have a better way, a better Tmimus. It's to count before it says. How is that possible? The Rabbanan's asking, how is it possible that you're going to tell me there's a better, a superior form of Tmimus? Then the Torah says so.
always meant to count a bit.
Okay, fine. So you want to say that today, since it's post Beis Hamikdash, so the Rabbanan want to take advantage of something. But why? Why? That's you have to answer. So hold on. We got to get. Yes, I think the first step you have to take here is to understand the Ran. What do you say about the Ran? The Ran's very funny. I'm talking about the Agadata. Okay, why does the Ran spend all this time with this Agadata? What's bothering him? What's bothering the Ran? There's your chance to get into the Ran's mind. Why does the Ran go ahead and list this Agadata? And then he says, which he seems to indicate is the basis for why Chazal hold of Sefirah. But then he says, no. But Ikar Milsa, it's really Zecher Lamikdash. What's bothering him? What is bothering the Ran? One point I would agree with at this point for sure is that it's not a coincidence that the time from Yetzias Mitzrayim, from the second day of Yetzias Mitzrayim to Shavuos, right, which is the time to Matan Torah, is also tied to Omer. Okay, there's not a coincidence that the Omer, the Ksiras Omer and the Havas Omer, it's not just a coincidence that those days happen to line up perfectly with the days from.
I'm not saying the Omer is
Just to get the ball rolling a little bit, okay? I mean, in these situations, it's always good to take other examples of Zecher Lamikdash, like Avi you were suggesting, and use them, and then contrast them to this Zecher Lamikdash, okay? So let's give two examples of Zecher Lamikdash, my two favorite examples. So one you mentioned, which is Lulav, and let's use Korech. Okay, I like Korech more, okay? So someone describe for me, what do we do by Korech? Binyamin.
Sandwich.
What, meaning what?
We do what Hillel did, except on a different scale.
Well, not on a different scale. What don't we do?
Did it
Listen
as
to Pesach.
Pesach,
Me-
no?
All right, so Hillel, not just Hillel. So in the times of the Beis Hamikdash,
Based off inside that sandwich?
yes, it was a sandwich of matzah and inside maror and korban pesach.
Is that his mitzvah?
So Pesach,
Today, now what do we do today? That's Zecher Lamikdash. What do we do?
You have a sandwich with more and matzah.
Maror matzah. Okay, now let's break it down to its components. Okay, what do we have today? So we have matzah and we have maror. So how is the Zecher? We don't have a korban pesach. So how is this Zecher Lamikdash formulated? What's it doing?
It's a remembrance of what they did back then.
No, that's objective. But how is it? What's the mechanism? It's taking what? Taking
Three different things
Mitzvah.
putting together to one.
What?
Mitzvah.
Okay, it's taking available entities that still exist today and using them as the springboard to the Zecher Lamikdash.
so the same
They're just saying that. Wait. It's just saying that since we have matzah and maror,
It is our time.
so but we have that which we can use. We have something to latch onto for the Zecher Lamikdash. Okay, or let's take lulav. Okay, lulav is the easier example because what do we have by lulav? We actually have
The exact same thing.
the exact same thing. So we have that which we can latch onto and springboard back into the Zecher. Okay? Now comes the problem the Ran has. Okay? What's the problem by
We don't have an Omer.
we don't have a korban? We don't have an omer.
that's how we're doing physical, but they counted it.
No, hold on. So the Ran introduces the Gata. I'm positing why he does this. Because we don't have, there's a problem with this Zecher Lamikdash. We don't have that which we can latch onto. There's nothing there. We don't have a
We have
korban.
physical latch, but we have something else.
Hold on. No, it's more sophisticated than that. We don't have an omer. No an Omer, so now the Ran says we have a serious problem. Because how are you going to create a Zecher Lamikdash if there's nothing to springboard off of? You can't just have Zecher Lamikdash. There has to be something that exists here that we can latch onto and then use that as the vehicle to Zecher Lamikdash. We don't have that by the Omer.
We have a time period.
Oh, 1 second. Okay, so what's the Ran doing when he introduces the Agadata? And this is the most amazing thing that the Ran's really suggesting. No, you're making a mistake. We don't have an Omer, right? So you can't tell me, you can't say, right, that we can latch onto something. In other words, like this. If the counting of the counting and the Omer are tied together, and you're lacking the Omer, right? So there'd be no mechanism. What?
So you're saying there's something aside from the Omer and accounting that you can latch on?
I won't even say aside. I'd say even more than aside.
In addition,
Aside reason.
More than that. What's he indicating by the Medrash? Why is he bringing this Medrash in?
You're saying that the concept is a completely different concept.
no, maybe
Not
that's
different.
Started it.
Oh, what do you mean?
They counted 50 days then.
Right?
And we bought the Omer.
Oh,
There's
okay.
always
So
an idea of counting.
yeah, okay. So counting. This is an amazing idea that Ron's proposing. Sefirah, the Maisa Sefirah predated Omer. See, we tend to think of it as Sefirah and Omer came together. The Ron's saying no. The Ron's saying that there's an actual halachic Sefirah, right, that existed conceptually prior to the onset of the Korban Omer. The Korban Omer, now what does it do? It took that Sefirah, right? Yeah, and then incorporated it into the Korban. But now you don't have a Korban anymore. You still have what? You still have accounting. So that's how you can have a Zecher Lamikdash. See, he's not saying there's no Zecher Lamikdash.
Should be derived from that.
No.
Say we don't care.
No. There still has to be Zecher Lamikdash because the fact is that once it became incorporated as part of the Omer, what happened to it? It took on that character. It became part of that phenomenon. But if you say the idea Sefirah is intrinsically tied to the Omer, meaning it only came into existence with the Omer, then according to the Ran, there'd be no way to have a Zecher Lamikdash. So the Ran is proposing an amazing thing. He's saying that there was a counting precedent that pre-existed conceptually the whole notion of the Korban. Mesa Mikdash comes along, the counting's incorporated into the Omer, right? Now that we lost the Omer, it doesn't mean we can't have a Zecher Lamikdash. Why? Because there was still an idea of counting that existed. If that idea of counting didn't exist before the Korban Omer, there'd be no way for us to, there'd be nothing for us to latch onto. There'd be nothing. We have no way of having a Zecher Lamikdash. What's the move now? So what does the Ran say? All right. Now the Ran attacks Tosfos. Okay. The Ran says Tosfos makes no sense, right? Because how could it be that I have a D'Rabbanan coming along and improving on the D'Oraisa? That's insane. That can't be, right? So how do we answer that? What's the machlokas, the Ran and Tosfos? That's the question. What's the machlokas? I have a little bit of a different approach, but I think the starting point really is Zecher Lamikdash. I think the Ran and Tosfos are arguing about what's the nature of this. Actually, it could be in general, but certainly here, what's the nature of the Zecher Lamikdash? Okay, what's bothering the Ran? What bothers the Ran?
That they're improving D'Oraisa.
They're improving D'Oraisa, right? Okay, so what must the Ran hold? Therefore, when he looks at Zecher Lamikdash, what does he look at Zecher Lamikdash as?
The exact same form.
The exact same form. Okay, because the Ran's holding that when we say Zecher Lamikdash, what are we doing? And that's in line with the Sefirah. He's saying that since the Ran is beforehand wants to show you that there is a precedent that exists for Sefirah outside of Omer, so therefore we can have a Zecher Lamikdash. So that in line with that reasoning, the Ran holds that when it comes to doing a Zecher Lamikdash, your objective is you're trying to replicate as much as possible what they did. So for instance, let's say Korach. So what's Korach today? The Zecher Lamikdash Korach today is the same Korach they did back in times of the Beis HaMikdash minus Korban Pesach, right? Okay. So too with counting the Omer. In other words, the Sefirah that I do today is no different than the Sefirah they did in the times of the Beis HaMikdash minus the Korban. So if that's the case, it has to be done when? Exactly the way they did it, which would be at nighttime. Okay? That's the Ran. What does Tosfos hold? This is, I think, the key move. If you say this move, then Tosfos has free pass to do whatever he wants. What's the move?
I guess he does not hold the pre-existing.
So what is it? What's Korach? Let's take Korach. There's two ways you can look at Korach. The Ran saying, what's Korach? Korach is...
Is it to
But so what's the consequence of the second way? What's the consequence of that then?
is that you don't need to pass up, for example.
So then, okay. So when the Ran and Tosfos sit down and have korach, they see two different korachs. Okay, the Ran sees what?
A replicate.
Right, meaning It's the same korach minus.
Pesach.
Okay, what does Tosfos see?
It's a korach.
What do you mean?
Sandwich, because the idea of sandwich is what we wanted.
Right, but okay, good. One more little step. So therefore, halach. But is it the same korach?
No.
No.
It's a recreation.
It's a new korach. It's the korach of
Already.
Zecher. It'll be. You see, you're saying that, but you know it makes sense. It's the korach of Zecher. That's a different korach. The same thing applies by Sefirah. This is, I think, what you were trying to get at before. I think, but what the Tosfos is saying in the beginning, what Tosfos is saying is that once we say that the Sefirah today, when he holds his D'Rabbanan, he's not saying that be D'Rabbanan in the sense that it's like a lesser form. He's saying that the Sefirah of Zecher is a different Sefirah than the Sefirah of the Beis Hamikdash. If it's a different Sefirah, then what does it allow you to do?
Change the Sefirah.
Well, in other words, you can start saying things like there's an adifas and tmimus. You can say that.
Especially since the form of Tamimus has changed a bit.
Why?
Because they're long, so now you have beta function to deal with.
I agree, exactly. No, what's the point is? The point is that once you're saying it's a Sefirah of Zecher, it's not that it's the same Sefirah, but lacking a component. Rather, it's a new Sefirah. It's a Sefirah of Zecher, different kind of Sefirah. Once you posit that, so according to Tosfos, so now you have the right to say, oh, well, we can have a greater form of Tmimus. It's not saying Tosfos would agree in the times of the Beis Hamikdash you would never count during Ben Ishmashos. You understand? Of course, he'd agree with that. He's just saying that because in the Sefirah of the Daraisa of the Beis Hamikdash, that is the time to count. But the Sefirah we're doing today is the Sefirah of Zecher, and that's the D'Rabbanan. So, ironically speaking, by making it D'Rabbanan, you have more flexibility in doing what you want to do. Okay, but it's only because when you create a Sefirah, when you create a Zecher Lamikdash, you're actually creating a new idea. It's a new phenomenon, halachically. It's not that phenomenon minus something. It's a whole new phenomenon. So that's part one of the sugya. Okay, all right. Now you have to start preparing part two. So what's part two? So now comes the whole issue of the forgetting business. Okay. So now, what you have to go back now, and you have to go back, review in Tosfos, Tosfos' shita about forgetting. Okay, versus the Bahag, and there's two scenarios of forgetting. There's forgetting
Till day or entire day.
right, and there's machlokas about each one. Then you have now you do this Tosfos and source number 5, okay, and you have the Meiri, okay. Meiri is important, number 6, and then in the Ran you do Mar Yehudai, okay. That's the where it says V'kasa Mar Yehudai, okay. Do that, then you go to the Torah, then you go to the and Beis Yosef and all the other shitas, okay. But what you're going to notice, by the way, and this is the most important thing, you have to suspend from your mind. You have to suspend the whole business about if I forget, right? The business of counting without a bracha, okay? Because if you think about it, what's that really doing? Counting without a bracha. It's a compromise, okay? The Bahag would not say to do that. The Bahag would say it's pointless, okay? So you have to answer that as well. But you got to go first through the original shitas, okay? So you got to go back to Tosfos, line up the two machlokosim between Tosfos and the Bahag, okay? Then take a look at the Meiri, and then the Ran, look at the Mar Yehudai position, which is the weird one, okay? And then come up with Sefirah for it.